Hello, and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Over that way, which is funny. When you rewatch the replay, it'll show that I'm pointing that way when I didn't. I found that out last week. That was kind of cool. Anywho, this is DZ representing his Los Angeles Chargers. Down that way, we have Mr. Jack Canna representing the Las Vegas Raiders. And we have a special guest tonight for a brief moment here, T3 Sports Guy. We're going to bring him in to talk about the Raiders' loss and perhaps console Jack a little bit as well. Without further ado, we're bringing in T3 to get his take on the Raiders and the rest of the AFC West division to add a little extra to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, good seeing everybody, and I can only be in for a brief time tonight. I hope to be in a little bit longer next week. I apologize for the darkness, but I'm traveling under a shroud of darkness here, as is apropos for this Raiders team this year. But what I wanted to do is I actually want to throw some love toward the way of the Broncos. Before the season started, I predicted that the Broncos would be the team to knock off the Chiefs this year and win the division. I still stand by that. I think that they should be at 4-1 right now instead of 3-2. The Chargers are about where I thought they'd be at 3-2, and the Chiefs at 2-3. I'm not really surprised by that. What we're seeing with the Chiefs now is they're not winning those close games at the end that they were accustomed to winning, and I see that continuing through the season. I think by the midpoint of the season, they're going to still be hovering around 500. So they might be lucky to make the playoffs at all. And as for the Raiders, we knew they weren't going to compete this year. I had them as an 8-win team. That's going to be a struggle to get there. But as I was talking with the guys earlier, the main fault that I see is that you cannot have a successful organization if you keep trading out the GM every year. The Raiders are on their 5th GM in the last 5 years. That is not going to be a recipe for success. Any of the GMs that were in could have had some inroads and made some success if they were allowed to carry on a little further. They were just never given a chance. And until Mark Davis actually gives somebody a chance and stands by and lets it unfold, this Raider organization is never going to see the type of success that we all would like to see. I mean, even Charger fan and Bronco fan, you have to admit when the Raiders are good, it kind of elevates everybody in the league. And I would love to be like the most vilified, hated team in the league, but that only comes with winning games.
Right. And I totally agree with you. It does take time, and we've had so much turnover over so many years. And all the coaches, the GMs, they got to find the right pieces of the puzzle to get this team going again. I think, a lot of Raider Nations kind of looked at like Washington. Okay, but what was the one thing that was hurting us for so many years was our quarterback play. And then so we get Geno, who was basically a top 10 quarterback last year. We think we're going to have the same turnaround as Washington, or like the Colts with Danny Dimes. It doesn't always work like that, So what we thought was going to happen and what's happening is definitely different. But I agree with you. I had the same record. I had it at 8-9.
Yeah. It's going to be a struggle to get there. Now they obviously should have won the game against Chicago. In my opinion, but it is where it is right now. They need to pick up a win against the Titans. If they don't pick up the win against the Titans, 8 wins may be out the window.
Right. If we don't beat the Titans, and then it's like, then who do we beat?
Good question. Maybe the Browns.
I don't think we played the Browns, though.
Yeah, I think so. I thought so. Maybe not.
I don't know. I have to look it up.
Yeah.
One game at a time at this point.
Anyway, I want to compliment Denver. They put together, and again, Rich and I talked about this before you all came on. They put together the team the right way. They finally got people in the building that actually care about the organization and care about winning, care about the team and its players, rather than just bankrolling it. And the Chargers, they're just still trying to find their way. I'm concerned. My only concern with the Chargers is Harbaugh, despite the fact that he's been successful wherever he goes, he kind of burns down the trees as he goes. So I don't know how that's going to go long term.
Every 4 years, it feels like.
I need some of that old Harbaugh because he's gotten soft. He's different, T3. So he might, the fans might get frustrated with him, which I think they are right now, especially with this 2-game skid. But he's definitely not what he was in San Fran, and I'm pretty sure that's what you're referring to, where he burns down bridges. And that's probably the only spot he's ever burned down a bridge. So that's kind of a tired thing between him and that ownership. I mean, they did want him out in Michigan, and then he stuck around and won him a natty. So there's that. But yeah, there's issues going on in the Chargers they can't control. But they had an option. They had a chance in the offseason to address a certain spot in the roster with quality guys, and they didn't seem to want to do that. They wanted to go the cheaper route, and kind of that definition of an insanity with certain players on that offensive line. They wanted to run it back, and they're dealing with it now. There's no way out of it because teams don't trade away offensive linemen, and or good ones for that matter.
Not good ones.
And even bad teams that have young QBs, they're not getting rid of their O-line because they need those guys, for the development of these guys for future seasons. So it's a scratch and claw. It's figure out a way, and it's probably a numbers game for them now instead of just running it because, just like you said about you predict the Broncos, the Chargers team should be 5-0 right now. And you probably don't know that because you don't watch Charger games. I get that, but without these injuries, they should be 5-0. And yeah, the score last week doesn't show that, but this offensive line injury group, what it's done to the offense, has a snowball effect throughout the whole team. And the injuries, or not just the line, but the injuries team wide, are having a snowball effect. And it's just like Groundhog Day for me, as being a Chargers fan, majority of my life. Every effing year, and it's happening to just key players. It's happening to key contributors and bizarre injuries, especially Slater losing him right before the season kicks off after signing, the setting the market at left tackle. So yeah, it's pretty frustrating. So we were surprised that we got started out 3-0 in the division, a gauntlet. But everybody was healthy, and we've had 2 back-to-back losses with who I thought were lesser teams, not necessarily the Commanders, but the Giants.
Giants.
Yeah, that was a horrible game. And then this last game, I'll get into it when we talk about my game, but there was one play that just changed the entirety of the game, and it just went downhill from there. And it was it's pretty bad.
And T3, you're right. We do play the Browns. It's the last week of the season.
Yeah, we may be scrapping for that 8th win right there at that last week.
I would love to see 8 wins, but I was just looking at that schedule and I'm like going, the way we're playing right now, we may not even see a win because I thought the Jaguars was going to be an easy win. They're playing above their heads right now. They're a tough team.
Jags look actually good.
So if we do lose to Tennessee, you might use it and put the nail on the head. That might really the only chance where I feel like it's pretty looking pretty good would be that Cleveland game.
Yeah, the thing about the NFL, and again, it's a week-to-week thing. Injuries make a huge difference. I would hesitate to say that any of our teams, if the starting quarterback goes down, we're in trouble. Within the division, I would say maybe the Chargers are in the best position as far as backup, but again, we don't know. We can assume based on things we've seen in the past, Trey Lance might be able to step in, but I think as far as the rest of the division is concerned, it's really it'll be a struggle bus if any of those starting quarterbacks go down.
If we lose one more starting offensive lineman, I want Trey Lance to start, and I'll get into that later on too.
Yeah.
There's no reason. To
I
keep
actually
Trey Lance
think
there.
I think Stidham would actually do quite well in Peyton's offense. He looked on fire when he was out there in preseason, where he's now in his second full season in the Sean Payton offense. And he's a very bright quarterback. Like, he's actually quite intellectually gifted, which is important because Sean Payton's playbook is quite complex. And so I would sort of disagree, I think, with your statement there. Would there be a drop off in certain aspects? Yes, I think that Stidham isn't quite as mobile, and I think that he makes a couple decisions a game that you question. However, I think overall, in terms of what you want from your backup quarterback, you want a guy that can steady the ship and just kind of not lose you the game. And I think that Stidham is that guy. Honestly, as a quarterback, especially in year 2 in Sean Payton's offense. Last year, I would have absolutely agreed with you. By the way, last year, yes,
there's still that injury history there. Now, I will tell you this: I think one of the biggest mistakes that was made early on in the Ziegler and McDaniels regime, and this is when they decided to sit Derek Carr down at the end of the 2022 season and bring Stidham on. They should have gone ahead and committed and said, okay, he's our guy rolling forward. But what they didn't do is they didn't lock him up, and then he left. And then all of a sudden, the Raiders had nothing at quarterback. Then they had to start grasping at straws. Had they gone ahead and locked up Stidham, he might not have been the long-term answer, but at least they would have had some stability and some direction. And again, that's just one of several things that they probably could have done.
Yeah, and Tom, it's like I just look at it was all about the contract at the time. It was like 2 years, $10 million. Raiders didn't want to pay that at that moment. But I agree. I think Stidham's a good backup.
Mark Davis, he tries to go cheap as much as he can. I hate saying that, but he's going to pay guys like Max Crosby, but he's going to overpay for people that really don't deserve the high paycheck, and then let go guys that he should lock up. They haven't really got that figured out yet. He hasn't got a GM that he can trust and lay the keys over and say, here you go.
I have a theory about that, by the way. I think that Mark recalls from his father in particular, because obviously he wasn't a football guy, but he still at least saw highlight reels and things of that nature, right, from the Raiders back when he was growing up and everything. And the one thing that Mark's father was a big fan of was the super fast wide receiver, or the splash players. Although Al, rather than Mark, at least had an inkling of how to put a football team together. And knew that the splash players were not what actually made the team, but they were what put butts in the seats and would allow you to win the game once the other team, once the rest of the team was ready to go, right? Whereas Mark, I think, just remembers the splash highlight reel plays. And I think what the problem that he has is that he doesn't fully understand that you need the grit on the team first. So you need the offensive linemen in order to protect the quarterback and run the plays and actually make those guys get downfield to catch those really big splash plays. And then conversely, or on the flip side, on the defensive side of the ball, you need more than just one dude by the name of Max Crosby in order to get to the quarterback and win on defense. And you have struggled to find the grit, the unsexy players, the guys that aren't the whiz bang guys. And I think that is in large part maybe just because of the highlight reel nature that he probably grew up with, not actively with the Raiders, but passively watching the Raiders.
Yeah, you need to find the guys who are able to get to the quarterback and make him go down hard.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
And it's not 100%. A lack of trying, with Chandler Jones and then him going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and then getting Tyree the same year, trying to, get those outside guys and get Kuntz, who didn't really step up until, the last year, until going into a contract year, and then he gets hurt for the whole season. And, you're paying him $12 million a year. So, I will admit they're trying. And again, another guy who's a bigger name, but in Christian Wilkinson, and what happens with him? That our Chris Jones to pair up with Max Crosby. So again, I think they're trying. I just think they're throwing darts and they're not hitting.
And
Well,
what about
Wilkinson
the pair of
went.
linebackers?
Yeah, Wilkinson went pure cartoon kiss on a fellow teammate, and that's just not going to fly, right?
And then
Like,
and before that, Jack, you've got Corey Littleton and Kwiatkowski, the linebacker
Corey
duo
Littleton.
that came in 2020. And I think I spent more time watching the back of Littleton's jersey than anything else. I'd see number 42, but I'd clearly see the name. So you didn't have to guess who was in pursuit because that's all you would see.
Right. And, you know, when they got Littleton, he was the best coverage linebacker coming out. But then you look at the Rams defensive front, they're always getting pressure. So there's less time. So he's getting more opportunities. And when he comes to a team like ours, where we're not getting that type of pressure, he got exposed.
He had stellar pressure up front, and he also had some decent guys in the defensive backfield too.
Yeah.
Corey Little was protected both in the front end and the back end.
Yeah.
And then when he came to the Raiders, he was totally exposed, and they just lit him up. That middle of the field was just wide open. Listen, guys, I hate to back out, but let me try to see if I can get on a little bit longer next week. But I'll catch the rest of the show a little bit later. And you all have a great night. Good luck to your teams coming up this week, and we'll chat later.
Broncos Jets in London.
There you go.
Yep, there we go. All right, thanks for joining.
Yep.
Safe travels. So
that was cool.
I love T3. He brings a real interesting slant to the division, and what he does do is he actually follows kind of the entire division, which I think, even though he is a Raiders fan and unapologetically so, fine, that's fair. But
right. No reason to apologize for that.
Yeah, he does really follow the entire division with some interesting insights. Obviously, we're going to have differences of opinion and all that sort of thing, and that's fine and fair. But always like hearing a different angle from someone who's not just simply coming in and saying, "I like my team, your team sucks." So I think it's great having T3 on the show. I've always enjoyed when he jumps on. Great insights. Just really, really good guy. Like having him in the show. See if we can't maybe bring him in next week as well for a little bit longer and get some other insights in there. With that in mind,
I didn't know it was Thom until it was so dark, behind the curtain. I saw T3. I'm like, dude, who's T3? I don't recognize a T3. But until you could actually get a little bit of light on his face, I'm okay. That's Thom, man. I know Thom.
Yeah. So it's that is Thom. Good dude. He and I have been on screen multiple times together in various podcasts and whatnot. So that's awesome guy. Love to have him on the show from time to time. Let's switch gears a little bit. Jack, I'm gonna maybe come to you quickly.
All right, it makes sense. It's like when you guys were talking about backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to save this part for a little bit later of what the Raiders did not do this last week, and it won't take that long to get to it. So when it's always my turn, I always like, hey, Jack G, Robert Peno, Victory, Sharif, Navman, thank you guys for joining the chat. You guys make this stuff run. So I'm glad to see you guys here every week. Oh, this week, I could not believe this week. I mean, it seems like it's just getting worse and worse and worse every single week. Chargers put a stomping on us. The Commanders put a bigger stomping on us. And this was the biggest stomp of all. Again, it's like the Commanders, all three phases of the game was 40-6. So what does that kind of tell you? You don't even get a touchdown. You're kicking 2 field goals. 1 field goal was at the end of the game, which I will bring that up in a little bit too. There was nothing that went right for this Raiders team. And a lot of it, again, is coming back. Hey, what's up, Ed Winchell? Salute, brother. A lot of it, Sharif, if I miss you. But it's a lot of it's coming back to the same player. And again, I'm not putting everything on him. But I feel like now looking forward, what's kind of been happening, one player who's our starting linebacker, our best linebacker, and Jermaine Pratt, did not fly with the team, and he was a healthy scratch. So that's got Raider Nation scratching their head. Why is a healthy player not flying with the team? And the team just plays. Oh my God, DZ, the way I felt is like, when the Raiders played your Chargers and it was like 63 to whatever it was. That's the way I was feeling this game. I actually had to turn this game off. It took me 7 hours to watch this game. I get so upset. I pause it. I started pulling weeds in my garden. And then I'd come back to it. And then it's like just something else bad. Okay, I got to pause it again. Go back out in the yard just to cool down, because there really was nothing that went right. Everything that the Colts did went right. I mean, third down efficiency for the Colts, 8 of 10. I mean, shoot, they had 317 yards and the Raiders had 296, but that's not the way it should have looked, because by the little bit after the third quarter, this game was out of hand. Colts, 13 pressures, Raiders, 6 pressures. Raiders actually, they stopped, one of their longest streaks. What hurts my head? Man, what hurts my head at most, Jack Kennett, is the following opening game. Look great, and then the dumpster fire begins. Why? I don't get it.
Plays, game plan.
We did. The defense shut them down. I mean, the defense was playing pretty good as a whole. The offense, though, turning the ball over and over and over. Again, repetitive, doing the same thing over and over. It's not going to get you anywhere, especially when you're turning the ball over. That is for sure.
So what's weird? What's weird though is that Jack was saying it didn't take that much to have you hurt your head in terms of thinking too hard there, Raider Shield. I don't understand what he was talking about. I just shoved that off to the side and just said that was just him, being that kind of dude. But in all fairness and seriousness, I actually think that the true issue that the Raiders had is that teams came into the first game not knowing exactly what to expect of Pete Carroll. And so they were game planning with a hybrid combination in that first game of, are we going to see like a Seattle-esque look, or are we going to see the Raiders of 2024, 2025? And they weren't sure. Once they saw the first game on film, they were then able to dissect the team a little bit better and get a true understanding as to who was doing what, where, when, how, why, all that sort of thing. And then it just came down to personnel.
No, it does. And I will say this, DZ's team they figured it out with the 2 high safeties, trying to throw the ball deep. That first game against New England, again, that's all they did was throw it deep. And Gino was getting in there. Even when there was like some double coverage going on, he was getting the ball right where it needed to be. But that team blitzed, I think I said on the show, like 46% of the time, between 40 to 50%. That's not the way you beat, You beat it the way DZ's team did. You rush forward and you drop everybody back. So, I mean, they figured it out. And part of that is Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, what I'm hearing about him is that he's still running the college offense. And I forgot who the NFL player was that looked at it and said, oh, yeah, he's running a college offense. So really, you need to study about 15 plays. And, he's not wrong. I mean, he's not figuring out, and then part of it's like the hash marks. In college, you got 4 yards wider. So some of those plays where you're going to the outside may work a little better because you got a little bit more spacing on it. And in the NFL, you got faster, bigger, quicker guys. I mean, granted, he went, with Ohio State was a national championship team, but this is the NFL. This is not college. So, I mean, that's a part of it. And I'm just wondering if his head's, getting kind of, big and kind of like Pete Carroll, where it's like, he said something like, what is like the nation see in JPJ? What? What do you mean? What do you see in JPJ? Dude, he's like one of the.
Jack?
Yeah, he's like one of the best offensive linemen that you have. He's all the nation loves him so much. It's like he's acting like he's not as good as what JPJ is, or JPJ's got the big head.
Wow.
But, and again, you go back and you look at Kappa, who, again, was, their spy tech guy, and he all preseason, during the regular season, when he was cleared to play, and he played, on the special teams, but couldn't start. They kept Kappa in there. They said it was a short week. Why change up the mojo? Well, the mojo was we lost the game.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that, on Chip Kelly. And then, again, with Pete, and then I got a question for you and all the chat. So, and then with Pete, this is where the dysfunction is really starting to set in with Raider Nation. So we just talked about JPJ. You got to earn your job. You got to go out and play your job. You got to compete. COMP. But then we got crushed, blown out. And Geno Smith plays the whole game. Why, in a blowout, would you risk your starter to a season-ending injury? And again, then we go to the backups, right? Why didn't we, play our backup? You said, let's, got to give him stats, right? Let him compete. Let's see what the kid does. Keep your quarterback healthy, your starter. And then Pete comes back, says, yeah, I wanted to give, I thought about it, but I want to give him snaps. It's practice. What? Practice? This is game 5 in the NFL. And you're calling it at that point practice? I mean, that's kind of like Alvin Iverson, right? That's what it brought me back to. But this is an actual game. This is not practice. And if you haven't known what your players can do with all the offseason, you worked with Geno, you've seen everything about this guy, and you leave him out there and you call it practice. And then the nation sees JPJ has got to work for everything over Dogwater Kappa. I mean, it's really, making everybody kind of scratch their head. And then when they come back for, a Jermaine Pratt, who was a healthy scratch, as soon as the game's over, he's your best linebacker on the entire team. Type.
So, Jack, I actually have a question bouncing off of what you had there. Interested Raider Shield family, Ed, all the Raiders fans in the chat as well. I asked this question of my Denver Broncos when we were having challenges, and I'm using that word very judiciously. We'll just put it that way. I'm being very kind. So my question is this: who do you think the issues actually lie with on your team, and your team not making the changes that you just mentioned? So I mean, I'm not going to lie. JPJ was a guy that I wanted my Broncos to draft. I made no secret of that on the show. I'm pretty sure DZ also wanted to draft him for his Chargers.
I mean, half the fan base wanted him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He was lauded as the number 1 center in that year's draft. Right? He was not necessarily even thought of as a guard. He was really fawned over as a center for most teams. So my question is, we've seen Pete Carroll in Seattle not coach the same way that he's coaching now with the Raiders. Pete Carroll's mantra with the Seattle Seahawks was rigorous competition to try to ensure that the entire team got elevated, right? That was his whole MO, really, when he was with the Seahawks, right? We talked about that before the season. So my question is, you're seeing Pete not necessarily coach the same way he did years past, and we saw multiple years of that. So it's not like that was like a 1-year fluke. That was how he liked to coach. So why is Pete not behaving in that way? Number one. And then number two, with regards to JPJ, do you think that's Chip Kelly? Do you think that is Pete Carroll? Or do you think that's Mark Davis maybe reaching down into the team and making football decisions that he ought not? Yeah, like the puppeteering strings, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
so
not
those are my
Mark. Okay.
questions to you in the chat. I honestly don't know the answer. I don't really have an opinion on one way or another. It's just I knew what was happening with my Denver Broncos because I knew the ins and outs of what was going on with my team. I don't know enough about your Raiders to make any educated discussions, decisions, even have an opinion on what I think is happening. I'm honestly asking because I saw similar things occur with my team. I knew the answer to my team. I'm curious as to Raider Nation and who you guys think is the culprit within your organization.
So Sharif just said it right there, and I totally agree. It's not Mark, because Mark is pretty hands off. He pays the money, the big bucks for guys to do it. If they work out, they work out. If they don't, they don't. It hasn't been a good track record lately. But I look at it this way again. Well, what did I just kind of bring up? This will kind of circle around. It's kind of a division right now. JPJ goes out and meets Gino just to practice with him because he's a center. JPJ goes up to Genty and goes, "Nice to meet you. I'm your center." Then you get Pete, who's ultimately he's the head coach. And we talked about this before. Who does he hire as his offensive coordinator? Who does he hire at the same guy, or not his offensive coordinator? Who does he hire at his offensive line coach, running back coach? His son, Brennan, who has no NFL experience of doing what he's doing. And then starting off, then like we talked about this, he switches everybody up. Okay, not everyone probably likes that. That are players, and I know the fans don't because we don't see it. And then Pete says you need to compete for JPJ. Well, we know he's the second best offensive lineman on the board, for the Raiders. I mean, we're not coaches, but it's your eyeball test, right? And then you see Kappa come in, and he's crappa. So it's like you can see where, again, there's starting to be some divisions with certain players, and Chip coming out and just saying what Chip does. Like, why does the nation kind of see him the way they see him? Well, because it's obvious. You want to come on, Ed? Heck yeah, dude. We've never done a live together. Love it. So yeah. So I see, like there's that division, that's coming out within that locker room. And then, Pete, again, compete. And I agree 100%, Richie. That's what his motto was, always compete. Like Kai Blue Kelly, who's like a nobody coming out,
Yeah.
and he works his way to a starter.
Well, Jack, sorry just to interject there, but you don't even need to look any further than Russell Wilson, who I know has fallen out of favor, generally speaking, within the NFL, certainly with me. But in fairness, Russell Wilson, when he first came into the league, when he started that year one, when he was a rookie, he was a third round draft pick and number 2 or number 3 on the Seahawks depth chart when he was brought in. And if you recall, the Seahawks had just paid, was it Hasselbeck?
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, was it Matt McGloin?
No, I thought it was Hasselbeck, Matt Hasselbeck, wasn't it?
Who he sat behind?
Yeah, I thought it was Hasselbeck, who they just paid like a multi-year deal to or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but Hasselbeck is the name that I have in the back of my head.
Yeah, I got McGloin. I think they cut him the next year, and the Raiders picked him up.
Yeah, but they did cut the guy that they signed to that multi-year deal the next year after Russell Wilson, came in and did what he did in that first season. But that's a Pete Carroll move. Like that is right. like that's how he coached, which was he didn't care where you were drafted. If he felt that you were going to be the
Matt
dude,
Flynn.
Matt Flynn, there we go. Yeah. Sorry.
And Tavares Jackson.
Yeah. So that's it, because Russell Wilson was third on the depth chart, and then right after the first preseason game, everyone was like, "Who's that kid?" And he started to, elevate himself on the roster. And so, but that's a very Pete Carroll way of doing things, because he even had like Chandler Jones and some of those other guys in the secondary elevate themselves through those competitions that we were talking about earlier. And that's how that secondary and ultimately the Legion of Boom was formed.
Agreed. And so it's kind of mind-boggling, for the Raider fans that are out there, even myself, and seeing this Hall of Fame coach and do the things that he has done over his career. And we even talked about, we got rid of the boys and brought in a man, and you guys were like saying, "Oh, I see you guys on, the Raiders on a different trajectory, like, going forward and doing something good." And for this to come out this week and with Pete, now it feels like it's the Pete guy. It's not the come Pete, it's the Pete guy. Because why would you not? It doesn't make any sense. Because I'll follow it up with this. So the Raiders scored 6 points, right? They only had 3 points going into the very end of the game. And his thing was, it's practice, and I want to give him reps. Well, then why did we kick that field goal, a meaningless field goal at the end of the game, and go for it on that down and distance play? Just go for it. It's a practice rep. So don't say this is what you're doing, and then you even pull him out of the game and kick a meaningless 3-point field goal when you're saying, I'm trying to get him practice and get him reps. Well, give him that rep. Give him that practice. So it's a contradiction with Pete. And so the Raider Nation is like, right now we're starting to see the chinks in the armor. He's kind of just saying what he wants to say. In the beginning, everyone was just buying into it. Man, it's Pete Carroll. It's Pete Carroll. But the proof is in the pudding when you watch it. And as you like to say, when you see a duck being a duck, well, it's a duck. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, the things he says and the things he does, during the game and after the game. He's contradicting himself. So I hope he does change things around.
I think it's old age and ego. I think it's
I wonder.
Old age
Judge
and
King,
ego.
you said ego. You know what? And that is a big thing. I think Pete has got that ego where, again, in the first 4 games, we barely saw any backups. And you guys know me. If you're a 3rd-round draft pick, you should be getting some opportunities to be playing. So you got Genty who's getting opportunities in the 1st round. You're getting Dante Thornton in the 4th round some opportunities. Jack Besh, your 2nd rounder, was barely even seeing the field. Maybe comes in 1 or 2 plays, and that's it. You got Porter, your 3rd round pick. Not even be now Kai Blue Kelly. So, and not even playing. Then you got both your offensive linemen and Rodgers and Charles Grant. They're on the squad, but they're inactive. Your 4th rounder, Tonka Hemingway, on the squad, inactive. JJ Pegues, the 6th rounder, inactive. This was the first game they actually got some snaps. So, come Pete is dead Pete, right now with a lot of people in the nation. And I don't know how, the rest of the Raider fans feel about that, but that's just my opinion. I think a lot of people feel the same. And you imagine, backups, Kenny Pickett should have been getting those reps because we need to see what he's got, because we just talked about it. If your starter goes down, what do you have? We need to figure it out because we traded a 5th-round draft pick for him.
I mean,
so,
but didn't you guys see that in preseason, Jack?
No, Kenny came at the very end. He came in when Aiden O'Connell got hurt.
Okay.
So then they traded a 5th rounder. So, yeah, he got nothing. So I have no clue what we got. I can only go off of the 3 teams he played for.
Yeah. But that's just the fan. That's the fan in you talking, right? Like, because every fan base is like has similar things. They're like, why are you doing this? Why aren't you playing this guy? Why aren't you starting this guy? What the hell's going on? And obviously stuff's going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. The Pickett stuff that made sense, especially for that game. That game got out of hand, so that made sense.
Well, then why risk your starting quarterback for a game you can't win? It's pointless. Don't risk injury because then you will be stuck with Kenny Pickett for the rest of the year. And I think we all can agree that, at least coming into this year, Gino was, definitely the man. He's going to be your starter. There's not one person that's going to beat him out. But I do have something kind of fun for you guys. So talking about quarterbacks, I got to start them, bench them, cut them. So it's the three quarterbacks. So the Raiders' last three. So you got Geno, you got Aiden O'Connell, and you got Gardner Minshew. And I'm not going to say who's who. I'm just going to throw out the stats, and you guys tell me who you want. Start, bench, cut. So I did first 5 games is what I did for the Raiders, for each one of them. So quarterback number 1, completion percentage 70.2. Do you want records or no records? You want to factor that in? No records? Okay. 1,430 yards, 4 touchdown, 5 interceptions, QBR 46.1, and 1 fumble. Okay. Quarterback number 2, 63.8 QBR, 1,176 yards, 6 TDs, 9 touchdowns, QBR 38.6. QB number 3, we got 60.5 completion percentage, and he's got 946 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 picks, QBR 70.6. Nothing jumps out at you, right? It's like none of it's good.
For me, I'm taking the guy with the highest completion percentage and the higher QBR. Those QBRs are pretty shitty, to be honest with you. But I'm taking the highest completion percentage.
So A, B, do A, B, C. So again, A for the starter, B for the backup, and C for the cut.
I mean, I'm just going with the first guy you said is the guy that I'm probably starting.
Yep, I agree.
You guys both agree? Okay. So who then is the backup? Who's B or C?
I mean, the second. I guess the next best thing, Jack. I don't know. I mean,
well, here I'll repeat it.
No,
you said, Jack. You
A,
said
B, C in that order.
Yeah, you
What do
said
you got,
6
Rich?
TDs and then 9 touchdowns for one guy. That
No,
doesn't
he
make sense.
meant 9. He meant 9 interceptions. So he's got
Okay.
six TDs and 9 interceptions. And
Correct.
then the other guy was 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's the guy you said is your starter.
So that's
Yeah.
And
Geno
then
Smith.
the last guy had 3 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Yeah, the guy with the 6 touchdowns, 9 picks, that's Geno. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely pretty shitty. He's obviously seeing something's going on with him this year, and I don't know if it's your guys' weapons or what, but I think maybe it's Brock Bowers, his health. He's not been readily available, so that could be a thing, but I don't know. I would still rock and roll with Geno. I know it sounds bad, but that's your guys' best shot for.
So since you know who the Geno is, would you? I know you still rock with them, based on because it's Geno, but based on what you just heard, it's
I picked the first guy though.
Yeah, you took the first guy. All right. So first, I'm going to hold off on it for 1 second. One comparison. This is going to be fun too. So the guy who won in your guys' mind against this guy, 59.4 completion percentage, 825 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 36.9. And again, the first guy, 70.2, 1,430 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks, QBR 41.6. So the guy you guys chose, or this last guy?
It was the first guy.
Okay. You still the first guy?
Yeah. You're throwing numbers out, so we're trying to keep up, Jack.
So
if you want me to,
I'm following the numbers. I'm following the numbers. What my issue here is the first guy's 4 and 5, so four TDs to 5. He's got a higher completion percentage, which is fine, but then he's got a 4 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio,
yeah, which is not good.
Which is not great because the touchdown number is low, which means that he's actually not putting points on the board, which means that his red zone awareness is not great. Now, that could also fall on the team and some other factors as well. So I'm willing to give all of that grace and all of that additional pieces there. However, 4 touchdowns is very low. At least the other guy, I mean, 9 interceptions is just unacceptable. But you do start questioning how many of those interceptions are on the QB. It's a QB stat, so ultimately the QB wears it. But how many are on the QB and how many are on the rest of the team or other issues like tipped balls and other things like that, right? And that can happen as a result of a really bad or a piss poor offensive line. So all of those are all potential on the last guy. I'm going to probably change my answer. I think I'd start the last guy just because he's technically putting more points on the board.
Yeah, I might change too. I might change to the last guy as well.
Yeah, and then I think so. So I think I would go like the guy that I would start would be C. The guy that I would bench would be A, and then the guy I would cut would be B.
Yeah. Then we find out who they are, and then you're like, well, shit, we got a lot of money.
Yeah, you change it up. Well, so, okay, let's go over this. So, with the guy that you guys both chose initially,
Aiden O'Connell,
first was Gardner Minshew.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, Gardner Minshew was A. So, Gino was, you guys figured it out pretty easy just based on 9 picks. I mean, that's unreal with B. And then C was Aiden O'Connell. And then the very last guy just threw out number 4, just for the fun of it, with the 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 59.4 completion percentage, 36.9 QBR, was Russell Wilson.
Yikes.
So I just had to do that for fun because I know, like, from talking to, you, Richie, it's like how much you thought he was dog water and how much you hated him. But he actually did the best touchdown to interception ratio out of all of them. So that's just showing you how bad the quarterback play has played with this. And you mentioned
this.
His
completion percentage though?
59.4, which was actually the worst of the group.
Right. So he has the lowest completion percentage, but he also had one of the lowest touchdown numbers out of that group as well.
Well, he actually, Aiden O'Connell only had 3 touchdowns, 6 picks. Russell Wilson, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. And Gardner Minshew, who was your guys' first one, was 4 touchdowns, 5 picks.
Maybe the record would have helped, Jack.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to lie. I followed your numbers, and then they just flipped on me in my head mentally. I'm now lost. Either way, overall,
sorry.
I am never picking Russell Wilson as my team starting quarterback. I've already seen that happen. It is not good. He is no longer the mobile guy he once was. He's aged out, and he's incapable of moving as fast as he once was. And he's not able to make those kind of hero ball throws that he used to when he was with Seattle. That was really his secret sauce. That's what allowed him to actually extend out those plays and make some of those really, iconic throws. Even
he's got that. He's still got a pretty moon ball, but it's definitely not what it used to be at all.
No. And so, I mean, it is what it is. I think it's fine. The other challenge that I think Russell Wilson has in today's NFL over the years, where we are today versus when he started, he's 5'10", on a tall day. Little lifts in the bottom of his cleats and everything, and that's fine. The challenge with that is the offensive linemen coming out and that are now in the NFL. Not that they weren't always big before, but they are way bigger now. Like they are a couple inches on average taller now than they were when he was playing. And you're getting a lot more of these dudes that are pushing into the 300s, like mid 300s now. On the offensive lineman. So you have a much bigger wall standing in front of you as a quarterback. When he first started with Seattle, he had very lightweight, nimble offensive linemen, which is why they kept on struggling to block and protect him, but he was able to see over them. So I think that's part of a problem in today's NFL for him as well. He's not, I just don't think he's well suited for today's NFL.
No, I agree. And, you mentioned, is it on the quarterback or is it, well, this last game, a couple of these picks that I saw, again, what he's doing, the same thing he did tried to do against the Chargers, again, against the Commanders. he's throwing into double coverage. There was a play where it was closer to him, double coverage, but then the guy behind him, wide open, nobody on him. If he would have thrown that ball, it would have been a touchdown. There was nobody there. I mean, they're on the same side of the field. You can't see that? I mean, how do you not see that? They're 10, 15 yards apart.
Yeah.
The defense made a mistake and double covered one guy and not covering the deep threat. So I don't get it. So, a lot of people have been calling for his heads. And so it's like, the one thing, if the Raiders, if they wanted to get off him after this year, I mean, it's actually not that bad based on what they signed him for that extension. He's got $40 million guaranteed. Next year, if they wait until then it's what, 18.5? And if they really wanted to move off of him, and that's what got me really thinking about the Russell Wilson thing, to put it in that, the funny, because I know the Broncos were wanting to get off of him so bad. I don't see the Raiders wanting to get off him because he's a Pete Carroll guy, but it made me think about that.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Broncos so we can start getting into the Chargers and everything, and then start looking ahead to next week's game as well. I'm going to just kind of go over a few highlights from the Broncos win over the Eagles. I was quite pleasantly surprised that I guessed that we were going to win in last week's show, and I did openly admit that that was a change from my original kind of win-loss prediction when we did that show earlier in the year. I had the Broncos losing to the Eagles. However, stats and other things presenting themselves the way that they did led me to believe that there was an absolute legitimate shot that the Broncos had the right counter to what the Eagles had to offer.
That was a heck of a game. It seemed super defensive. It was like a very defensive game until that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then we saw the Broncos offense come to life and essentially win the game.
Yeah. So the Broncos went, I can't remember how many plays, how many series it was, but it was something like 10 or 11 that the Broncos defense held the Eagles to no points. There was multiple series in a row there where not even in a row, they were separated out, but there was a group and a stretch there where the Broncos defense held the Eagles to like 1 or 2 yards, negative 1 or 2 yards, and then 1 or 2 yards again, almost back to back in terms of the series. And that is a really, pretty special defense in order to do stuff like that. And I think that deserves a lot of credit. Vance Joseph modified the game plan after the first little bit where we kind of fell behind there. It was ultimately 17-3. And some fun stats. I think those are interesting, especially ones that are kind of a little bit more just numbers based, and they're not like inferring different things. It's just, here's a stat and it's kind of just interesting. The Broncos went into the fourth quarter to start it at 17-3 in a deficit.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean Payton, prior to his arrival here, the Broncos were 0-100, as in 0-100 when we were trailing at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Wow.
And so that was just, again, an interesting stat. And in Sean Payton's tenure here with the Broncos, trailing by that was more than 14 points. So that's trailing more than 14 points coming into the fourth quarter. The Broncos are now 2-6 under Sean Payton. So talk about not quite flipping the script, so to speak, but that is a marked improvement from where we were at before. Yeah. And that shows how coaching, game planning, that sort of thing, all of that is super, super important. And that's why a lot of Broncos fans that keep on slagging on Sean Payton when he has like a bad game here or there. It just you got to stop it. Like you have to look at a much broader sample size before you start saying, "Hey, that coach has got to go" or something along those lines. Another thing that I think is a very interesting, just again, straight stat, pure numbers based. I'm not going to make any colored commentary in terms of the player's play or anything. But Nick Bonito, as it stands right now, as we stand here today, is on pace to break the NFL sack record. As it stands here and now,
Who
he
was
is
it? Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett had this. Who was the
no,
guy?
is it TJ Watt? I think tied it, if I'm not mistaken, the sack record, if
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
used to be
mistaken.
the guy, the New York Giants
And it was
guy. What's his
Strahan.
name?
It was
Oh,
Strahan,
Strahan.
Strahan,
and
and
it was
then
Strahan,
Watt.
and then
Was
TJ
it
Watt either
22 and a half or something he needs to beat or something
yes,
like that?
it was a tie. TJ Watt tied the 22 and a half.
Okay.
Nick Bonito, as we stand here today, he is on pace for 24 sacks by the end of the season.
That's insane.
Wow.
Absolutely insane. And he's got the
I mean,
get off too.
Yeah,
Like
he's so fast.
that speed is absolutely unreal. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the only thing he's banged up is just his wrist, and so he just wears that splint or whatever it is.
yeah.
That's the only thing. So that's a non-factor essentially. So as long as he stays healthy, I mean, I don't see why not. Because at the same time, he's got great mates on that defensive line. Cooper or whoever else. Brett Favre. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Was that just Brett Favre trying to like show off his junk to the lady on the sideline? Sorry, that might have been a low blow, but I mean at the same time, he did get caught for it. So come on, there's some humor in that somewhere.
Well, I mean, you look at Benito, it's like 2.5 sacks this game against an Eagles offensive line, like what they have. That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me think when I think of Benito, I think about like the potential Max Crosby could have if he were
Oh
if
yeah,
he had similar guys on his D line. He'd probably
and
elevate his game.
I do want to point out Victory Lap's comment here, which is also true.
Yeah, that contract did seem like definitely like a yeah. Because TJ Watt, like his contract, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And stuff like, yeah, you guys
So
killed it.
so
Definitely
I
got a
think
Walmart deal on that one.
yeah. So I mean that was a rollback price contract
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the Denver Broncos. But you're getting premium brand quality.
He did it for the Mile High Club,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
He was,
But at the end of the day, I think when you look at things overall, if the team is trying to present a vision to the players,
yeah,
and if the players are saying, "Look, 25 million a year or something, or 26 million a year, or whatever the case may be," is still an awful lot of money. And yes, I could earn a ton more if I maybe went to the max or held out. The
or you could be on
problem
a
is
shitty
that,
team making
or
a
you be
ton
on
of
a
money.
crappy team and you make a
Yeah,
crap ton of money, and it's like,
it's no fun in that.
you
Kinda.
no, but the thing is, you're putting your body through extra, just extra, and so you actually run the risk of playing for more money for a shorter period of time, as to doing kind of like a Tom Brady style thing where if you take a little bit less, you can have other pieces around you so that you're
Restructure deals. Yeah,
yeah, and you can do restructuring and other things as well, which again, I just think it shows an interesting mentality as a player to be
yeah,
willing to do things like that with the team. But more importantly, I also think it shows the organizational trust that has been built up with George Payton, the team's general manager, and the players that are on the team. Like it's a really unique situation, in my opinion, from what we're seeing.
yeah.
Like a very, very unique situation. So those are just some interesting stats that came from that game. Broncos then, and by the way, I just want to get a few things out of the way for those that did watch the game. Yes, that was absolutely pass interference in the second to last play of the game there. You are not going to hear me try to sugarcoat that nonsense. That said, I will also say that Goddard on that play was equally at fault for pushing and shoving and holding on the same play. If you actually look at the replay from the actual angles there, it was technically on both of them,
That
which
wasn't
may,
Moss again, was it?
pardon me?
Moss wasn't on him on that play,
No,
was
that
it?
was Skinner.
Oh, yes, Skinner.
That
Yeah,
was
he had
Skinner.
back-to-back kind of stuff, but he got lucky on that last one.
That
right?
was Skinner. So we got lucky on the last one, but he got called on basically a play or two before that for a similar,
Yeah.
you know, issue. We'll say.
He's a linebacker, right? Or
No, he's a
safety?
very large safety.
Okay. He
Yeah,
looks like a
he's one of those.
linebacker.
He's one of those safeties that are kind of the hybrid linebacker box safety guy kind of stuff. He's also a special teams ace. Like you see him as like gunners and stuff. He is really good as a gunner on special teams. A
And
few other.
before you move on, Richie, one quick thing when you mentioned Nick Finito's contract and doing what he's doing, because I'm sure probably a lot of the Raider fans and Chargers fans don't know. I mean, you look at what he signed. It's a 4-year, $106 million contract.
It's a bargain.
That it is a bargain when you, again, what you guys were talking about with certain players. But I just wanted to chat to hear that because that is a great steal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some other quick things as well, just because I like to be fair and balanced when I'm kind of making critiques and stuff like that with these things. There was a legit face mask and hands to the face call, pass interference on Marvin Mims going down. It was either Marvin Mims or Harvey. I can't remember. It was one of the two on a pass catch play. They threw the flag and then they picked it up. And that was pretty egregious in my eyes. It was a very clear pass interference call. You can't throw your hands in another dude's face as he's trying to turn around to catch a pass. And he literally held on to his face mask for at least enough time to make that call as well. The long and the short of it is there was a 3 or 4 almost equally balanced call, no call, etc. The Eagles fans are getting angry at the forward pass versus fumble call as well. Yeah, I see. Like Raider Shield agrees with me. A Raiders fan even says that it was an absolute.
You start to think that do these refs are they part of some sort of talent agency? Do they have managers as well? Because sometimes they're making the games all about themselves. I swear this season, because every Sunday I'm watching split screen. I got 4 games going on, before my game or whatever, vice versa. And it's just flag. And then there's these weird stuff where they will not call flag on something that everybody in America, because you jump on X and everybody's like, holy crap, did you just see that? They didn't call a penalty on that. And then you have your retired refs or your wannabe refs go, that's a penalty or that's not a penalty. And then, it's getting very WWE-ish, man. And it's an effing shame that these crews, we like every game, we're like, oh, let's see who's reffing this game. It's this guy's crew. And he favors this team and favors this and that. And you're just like, give me a effing break, man. It's like,
yeah,
in the MLB, everybody was crying. They wanted robots to be coming. And it's getting to the point where it's like, dude, maybe we need some sort of robot to come in and reffing games or something.
When you look at Ref Guru, again, we're not a sport. We are entertainment.
Yeah.
And the refs are not hired by the NFL. They are their own agency per se.
Yeah, it's
Yep. So those are some interesting pieces there. The Broncos were able to figure a few things out when it came to the offensive side of the ball. So we obviously struggled, clearly being down 17-3 in the early stage of the game.
I mean, what'd you guys have? Like, it was like punt, like the majority of the game.
Yep. And I mean, while I understand that you want to stick with it and keep doing the thing, it's a really risky move to do what we did. You can't count on scoring 14 plus unanswered points sort of thing. Like you just
Yeah.
can't. Like the answer
No.
the answer is no. Like like the answer is no when it comes to that. And so I mean I just think it's an unfortunate chain of events for my Denver Broncos to now we won, so that's great.
Yeah.
But the Broncos really do need to adapt a little bit more aggressively on the offensive side of the ball. And again, we get back down to a few other things here, which is okay. Did the center run block well? Are we a passing team or a running team? Et cetera, et cetera. Now, the one thing I will say with Bo in this game, he showed that he's now come back into his own. He showed that he has that kind of nerves of steel.
I mean, what he did in the fourth quarter, yeah, that you did that. I mean,
Yeah.
say what you want about the Eagles team. This isn't there. People say it's not the same team as that won the Super Bowl. Whatever, they're still the Eagles. They still have the core majority there. And what he did in that fourth quarter, that was clutch, man. That was ice in his veins and got his team a damn win. Essentially, defense doesn't, can't go out there and score all the points. So we don't have a KC rep. May I give my take on them? It's gonna be biased, bro. I don't know.
Go and say it, Nav. I'll enjoy it.
I mean, I feel like we do need to give them their 5 minutes. Probably at the end of every show or something, until we get a rep. But
yeah. So, just overall, I just think Bo deserves credit. Credit where credit's due, because you don't throw up that number of points as a quarterback if you're unable to handle the heat, so to speak. Right? Like, you keep on hearing certain quarterbacks, like for example, Tony Romo is a great example of the opposite. Tony Romo would have great kind of beginnings to games, and then literally there was always one or two plays that he would just absolutely just wet the bed.
Yeah.
And he was known for last minute interceptions or messing up, throwing guys open or whatever.
You're
the
gonna
case
bring a
may
tear
be.
in my eye. You remind me of my boy Phillip Rivers.
And Phillip Rivers was kind of similar.
Fourth quarter.
Kind of similar.
Son of a biscuit.
Yeah, and so it is what it is. He was a great quarterback, but always seemed to struggle in certain moments. You know what I mean? He just kind of didn't have that clutch gene. You got certain dudes that have that clutch gene, like Tom Brady, as I think is a great example of that. As much as we like to, not give him credit where credit's due, he had that clutch gene. Peyton Manning, and you had other guys as well that kind of fit that mold. The fourth quarter, put the ball in my hands, I got you. Actually, I would argue Roethlisberger from the Steelers was very similar to that as well. He was a dude that seemed to always be able to pull a win out when it was absolutely needed.
He just stood back there. I mean, Big Ben, like a damn statue, and he was like, "Well, I'm gonna get hit. I'm just gonna sit back here and just wait for somebody to get open." And,
he said it's just not your boy that you had a tear over. That's been the Chargers for a long time, even with your current quarterback. Up until recently, the shit the bed in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's just been a kind of a Chargers thing as a whole.
Shut up, Jack.
I love you, man.
I gotta mute this mother effer.
So, anywho, obviously a big game for the Broncos. This is definitely one that we stole, as it were, in terms of as a win. And I think I covered this off last week, but I'll kind of just repeat it. I had the Denver Broncos 2-2 coming into the Eagles game, but just I had different games that we won and lost. So in terms of overall record, I had us coming into the Eagles game in my score predict or my win loss prediction that we did on the show. I did have us coming into the Eagles game at 2-2.
I don't even remember what my predictions were.
And
I'm pretty impressed that you do.
And so I had us beating the Colts, which was our second game, and we obviously lost to them. And then I had us losing to, I can't remember who the other team was, and we ended up beating them. And so we ended up being 2-2, but different teams. So it was just an interesting piece there. And then now the Eagles, having stolen that win, because I had that as a loss, quite bluntly, I had that as a loss to start the season. Before any games were played, I had that.
I
as a
don't think
loss.
you guys stole that win, to be honest with you.
No. I think
you earned the win.
I think we earned the win, and I think our team was well suited to beat the Eagles. So I'm not saying we stole the win, but I'm saying that given where I thought the Broncos were going to struggle at the beginning of the season, I think that we were well suited to beat them now that I've seen the Broncos play in the season now. Okay. But to begin the season, you're speculating based on what you saw the year before, based on who you think you picked up, based on the type of play you saw the year before, who you thought was going to gel, et cetera, et cetera. However, I did still believe going into the season that the Eagles was going to be a loss for us, just because I saw this year as us ascending, but not the big leap, just on the slow ascension.
I think your guys' defense took a step up. I don't think they were as good last year as they were the year previous.
Mm-hmm.
I thought 2 years ago your defense was good, in my opinion, and then last year I didn't think it was that great. This season it took another step up. It's climbing, and then I think the added element to your guys' team as a whole is that running game. That was a missing element last season. That's come in, and JK is just taking that by storm, right?
Yes.
And then Bidet, and then Harvey. So I think that element has taken a lot of pressure off Bo, right?
Yes.
Trying to make shit happen or make stuff happen. Excuse me, and that's going to carry you guys far in the season. And you remember, you guys do have that third place schedule. Sky's the limit. The AFC is a hot mess right now. So, I mean, Broncos country should be pretty high right now, looking forward.
Yep.
And one other thing to add to it, which was really impressive with this game, I mean, the Broncos, I thought the Broncos defense was really good last year. But I look at it, it's in the way of, again, going against the Eagles. I think the Eagles have the third best offensive line. And we always talk about, hey, we want the middle, right? You want that. We all want that offensive type of line. And you're getting, 6 sacks against that offensive line?
Whew, dog.
I mean, that's scary. I mean, that is really scary. I look at, the Broncos, when we play you against my trash offensive line, and you're doing that to the Eagles, it's like, I pity whatever quarterback's going to be in there for the Raiders.
And then the Eagles were like, they listened to the media or listened to their wide receivers, and we're like, yeah, we're going to go out and just start throwing on the Broncos secondary. I'm like, that's an interesting choice. Like, we'll see how that plays out. You know what I mean? It was just like, what? No, don't go back. Like, do what you guys have been successful with this season. And I don't know if it has to do with Saquon Barkley's knee or whatnot, but yeah, it was an interesting choice by them.
Yep. I do have to quickly cover off 2 other things, and then we will move on. And then we'll bring up Raider Shields family's comments here on the Chiefs. I actually think he did a really good job kind of breaking it down for us here as a Raiders/Chiefs correspondent. No, that was not meant as an insult, Raider Shield family. That was just, I really do think that you actually did a great job breaking all that down, but I do want to bring them up in successive order to do your comments justice. The Denver Broncos lost our left guard in Ben Powers. That was unfortunate. because despite the fact that he sucked, and I mean, like really bad in preseason, like he was awful
I would
in
have still took
preseason.
him in LA.
He had like that little stint in preseason, and then he was just on the ascension as soon as the regular season started. So credit to Ben Powers for righting the ship, so to speak, in terms of his play on the field. Good for him. I mean, he's had a few games here and there, a few plays here and there where, he probably wish he, had a do-over. But let's be real, like every single football player has a play or two every game that they wish they had played a little bit differently. And it's going to be very interesting to see the direction that my Denver Broncos go in as a Ben Powers replacement. My honest opinion is I think Palczewski, who is the guy that you see coming in, he's the swing tackle actually for the team, but he's a beast. Like we need more of him on the line, and he is a great run blocker.
Will he be filling in now with Ben Powers out? Do you know, or not sure?
There's rumors that they think that he's going to be the dude that's going to slide into that
probably
spot,
elevate somebody else up.
And well, the thought process is that Brum, he's the tackle that I brought up in our kind of roster breakdown. Yes, Palcho Power, that is correct. Frank Crum is our developmental tackle who, if he keeps on his trajectory, could well slot in on the left side when Garrett Bowles decides to hang it up. Because the Broncos are they have this interesting kind of developmental approach actually with the players that we have right now. They have Frank Crum and Palczewski, who started off as UDFAs and have every year elevated their game to effectively get themselves quicker and quicker up to starting status. And it is very rare to get starting caliber tackles, not just offensive linemen, but tackles as UDFAs. It's almost unheard of. And Palczewski has stepped in for McGlinchey. Actually, he stepped in for McGlinchey in the Eagles game at right tackle when he got banged up a couple plays. And the run game improved. So it was, he's a guy that really deserves a lot of credit for his development, and good on him. So I could see him stepping in actually at the left guard spot, and I think that Sean Payton and just the regime as a whole, they want to reward guys that have put in the work, and have got themselves up, elevated their play, and they want them to get their flowers, so to speak, for the work that they put in. And that's part of what is allowing the team to stay together and continuing to improve as a collective whole. Is guys like Benito are willing to come back on a discount, like a substantial discount, simply because they can see the cohesiveness that the regime here is trying to keep. So
damn you,
it says
Richie.
a lot.
I hate it. I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't like it.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thing there. Hold on, I want to quickly throw this up. Who's your the end?
Question: Who on the panel? Who's the NFL MVP right now? At the end, Baker Mayfield is my pick, with Danny Jones number 2.
Mine is probably go Josh Allen, Baker, then Jones. But there's other guys in the mix. I mean, if you look at odds, like Mahomes is still in the mix, Jared Goff's still in the mix, Justin Herbert's still in the mix.
I'm getting tired of just seeing quarterbacks. We all know quarterback is the
it should
main
be a
position.
Secondary award, I think, right? Like
I think there should be something non-quarterback because I look at last year for Rookie of the Year. It's like I like my Brock Bowers. breaking NFL records, like all NFL records, from all time, and you're not getting it versus a quarterback who got you to the playoffs, which is great. But you're not recognizing all-time record. So I would like to see, it not be a quarterback, or again, like you just said, DZ, make it a separate, award.
Yeah.
Because right now, this guy right here, the guy he talked about earlier, is the guy who's impressing me the most out of anyone is Nick Benito.
Right? Yeah,
No, I pointed right. So I mean, Nick Benito right now is the guy I'm looking at going, man, this guy's just fire. He's fire. He's fire. He's fire. And so,
well, I agree. Actually, I was going to say that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that when you break the all-time sack record, and a sack in the NFL is more than just, a stat per se. It's stopping the play dead, and often a sack is not always, but often a loss of yardage as well. Like just because you're generally often getting the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage, and so you can also often get a sack for loss, right? Like where you're getting 2, 3, 4, 5 or more yards, where you're knocking the quarterback backwards on the field as well. So not only are you stopping the downs, as in like no play, no gain, no nothing, but you're often forcing a loss of yards on that play as well. So to have 24 sacks, I'm just kind of looking at the long haul in terms of his current trajectory. If you finish the season at 24 sacks, you have to be in that conversation within that upper tier in that 1, 2, 3 spot to be brought up in terms of where you're at. Very similar to where Brock Bowers was last year in the NFL MVP voting. I do actually agree, though. Well, you must tackle him at the line of scrimmage for a sack, if I'm not mistaken.
It just has to be behind the line of scrimmage or like
no
forward progress.
Inch negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's at. Is it at or behind? Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was at or behind.
Check it out, Rick. Check it out, Nav.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was at or behind, but I'm happy to be incorrect if it has to be behind as well. And in terms of other things, I do agree. Mayfield is in a unique position right now, although I think that too many people are just so used to Josh Allen just playing this way. You know what I mean? Like he's having a hell of a season too. Last game aside, he didn't play particularly well in that last game, but generally speaking, he's had a heck of a season just as Mayfield has. And so I think Benito, if he continues on this trajectory, has to enter that conversation at some point. Sure. I do believe that Josh Allen has to enter the conversation. Mayfield has to enter that conversation. I don't believe Danny Dimes has quite elevated himself to that conversation just yet, although he is certainly.
It's Indiana Jones now.
He's certainly flirting with it.
It's still super early, so we'll come back to this
said in the chat, I got it in front of me. It says an NFL sack occurs when a defensive player tackles a quarterback behind the line of scrimmage before the quarterback can throw a forward pass. And who's number 17 on the Chargers? Or who was? They got the picture of a Chargers quarterback on them.
Philip Rivers.
Is that Rivers? Yeah. Sorry. I mean, it's just I just randomly just pulled that up, and that's what they pulled.
Of course, it's him on that.
Interesting.
The least mobile quarterback ever to play the game, but whatever.
So I don't doubt that that's in fact the rule, and that's awesome. But then I'm wondering, what would a tackle at the line of scrimmage be? Would that just be a tackle?
Who knows, man? Make up a
because it seems bizarre. Like I can understand if the quarterback is ahead of the line of scrimmage, but at the line of scrimmage is kind of what I'm actually curious about. So it's just a tackle, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a tackle. I always thought it was at or behind, but I'm happy to be wrong because I truly thought it was at or behind. So, Rivers, I think he's got 7.
No, he's more than that.
Oh, he's got more than that now? I thought he had 7.
He had some adopted kids too. He took in his sister's kids or something early on. I don't know how many kids it is now. Google, guys. Google your friend, because I'd like to know too.
Okay.
10.
Okay, this is interesting. This is super
Yeah,
interesting.
he's almost
he's
almost a one way. I think he's got grandkids now. He was talking about he could start their own side of the football or something.
Yeah. So I just looked it up. A tackle at the line of scrimmage is when a defensive player brings down an offensive ball carrier at or behind the imagery line where the ball is placed at the start of the play. If the tackle player is the quarterback, this specific type of tackle is called a sack. So 2 different things, 2 different,
So he was right.
Yeah, thank you.
So if it's a running back, never mind, because you can't sack a running back. So
no, you can't sack a running back. But this is okay. So guys, this is exactly how rules and issues and how arguments happen, because the sack rule in the rule book that you just read, Jack, just 30 seconds ago. I'm going to do the NFL a favor. A sack is when a quarterback is tackled at or behind the line of scrimmage. There you go. I just helped the NFL out. There you go. You're welcome.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just weird. You look up 2 different things, you get 2 different answers. So
now, our Raider Shield family does in fact
it is
bring
Google.
up.
It is
Yes,
Google.
It is not Google. You are correct. But if you're reading off, you do need to confirm that though in the actual NFL rule book. So the sack rule book, the sack in the rule book is obviously quite clear. But what you need to do is you need to define it or find out the tackle at the line of scrimmage to see if the NFL rule book calls it out as the same way. And by the way, if it does call it out the same way, then you're looking at it currently. So now, just out of curiosity, just to see if I'm right or wrong, what is a tackle of a quarterback at the line of scrimmage defined in the NFL rulebook? Because Jack's definition that he just gave there would indicate that would be a sack. However, I'm trying to read between the lines in terms of your comments. You're saying that would be a tackle. Is that correct? Not a sack. And the reason why these are often questions is it almost never happens, right?
Right?
most quarterbacks don't get tackled at the line of scrimmage. It's normally behind or just ahead, right? So interesting things. I always love learning new stuff about the rule book and stuff. So that I'm, when you're watching the game, you're not guessing. So I always find that really interesting. So we have real quick here, Raider Shield family has got positives. This is with regards to the Chiefs game. Kelsey is looking like Kelsey again, so that's obviously great for Taylor Swift.
That's debatable, but yeah.
And he's catching the ball, that kind of stuff. So that'll be an interesting one to see kind of how he does overall and see if he can sustain that over the course of the season. Rice will be back next week, so that's an interesting piece. That gives Mahomes another weapon. That is definitely going to be changing their dynamic a little bit there. So I agree with that as a positive for the Chiefs. Worthy is a stud. Yes, I think that was pretty apparent throughout the games thus far. And the running game looked better. Now, minus the colored commentary, the defense did not look great. Jones is starting to give up plays. I agree. I've actually noticed that in a couple of the games that I've watched. Jones is not looking like Jones of old, and it'll be interesting to see if he turns that around or if this is kind of the beginning of the end of Chris Jones in terms of on the downward trajectory. And the secondary is looking not great. And
good take, Nav.
last but not least, is that the Chiefs cannot continue winning on the last possession. This is what Nav was saying at the end of last year. I completely agree, by the way.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Last year, they won 8 games, or he thinks they won 8 games on the last possession. You're right. It was something crazy. Like it was really a fascinating stat where there was an absolutely abnormally high number of like last possession wins for the Chiefs. But you are 100% correct. As a team, you cannot rely on always winning or even sometimes winning on those last possessions. If you want to guarantee a win, you have to do so well before that last play. Frankly, it should be seen as an added bonus if you're able to win on that last possession, because it's just as well or just as easy for you to miss the kick or not do what you need to do in order to win. So I completely agree with that. So
Good job. Good take, Snap. And and if you see anybody on your show as a KC fan, ask them if they're interested in participating.
We're on the hunt. We're gonna have to put up help wanted posters soon.
Yeah.
Right.
So DZ, I've heard
on
that
the back
your
of a
team,
milk carton.
I've heard that your team is holding active auditions for offensive linemen.
Yeah. I mean, Richie, you get your passport in order. Come on down, man. I mean, look. It's like fans. There was like somebody put up a fake Indeed post. I think it was last week. It was absolutely hilarious. I looked it up and I like looked up the house. It's some random house in some neighborhood somewhere. But I was like, I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, man, as we were speaking earlier, good old linemen you don't grow on trees. Like you either got them or you don't, or you have them and they're hurt and they're sitting on their couch or in treatment. And yeah, but I guess this is a great entry into last week's debacle in LA. The Commanders, as I like to know them, the Redskins came into LA and put a beating down on my Bolts, 27-10. I know a guy looking for work easy, one of my students, 6'5", 360. Get his ass to LA. Just get him to LA.
Hey, Nab, don't let him go, man. We can use him on the inside.
I don't think he'd go to LA, because if he's currently in Tennessee, which I think is where that student would be right now, he would be in shell shock with your tax code there in California. So I think the answer to that would be no.
That's true. There is some downsides to that.
No taxes in Vegas.
Yeah, no taxes in Florida, Vegas, some other states. Yeah, man.
Yep.
Game started out good. Chargers were up 10-0, and I swear to you guys, don't think I've ever seen something like I saw in this game. And I had to double check and jump on my phone and like go in my group chats and be like, is everybody seeing what I just saw? And it happened. This game was snowballing that even the Tom Brady and his other partner that was announcing were noticing the same thing. Justin Herbert threw a pass, Quentin Johnson, deep pass, caught the ball. I mean, I don't know. It was like a 20-yard pass, something. It was a decent over the middle. He gets hit. Boom. Fumbles the ball. From that moment on, it was like the football gods flipped the switch off. And they're like, no more power for the Chargers today. We're going to just make, it was like everything. And the thing is, when that play happened, and I've seen it 1,000 times now from repros, no refs called any penalty on that. And it was blatant, absolutely 1,000% blatant, helmet to helmet. And I'm like, I'm waiting to see a notification that said player is getting some sort of fine. Helmet right to his head. I mean, so much that his head went snap to the side, and then he fumbles the ball. But anyways, from that point on, it was just a crap show. And, let's see, 10 penalties for 85 yards on the team, second week in a row, just penalties galore. Definitely, this is not a Harbaugh style. This isn't like Harbaugh's teams are not known for being penalized. And back-to-back weeks, this team has been just killed by the dirty laundry. Justin Herbert, 22 for 29, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception off a tip pass, another tip pass. It's like the second week in a row. D lineman decides to do his best Shaquille O'Neal impression and jump 30 feet in the air and tip a pass. But that tip pass was a stupid play design. Kamani Vidal, because Omarion Hampton left the game, almost ran in for a touchdown. He had a great outside scramble. They get down to the 2-yard line, and it was like Greg Roman up in the booth is like, he's like, let me try to emulate Pete Carroll in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to throw it from the 2-yard line into the end zone. Boom, gets tapped or tipped, and you watch the ball just go wave, goes right in the hands of a DB on the other side. So yeah, that sucked. He had 60 yards of rushing too. Guy tried to carry the team on his back once again, and it's too much. It's too much.
I will say Washington is surprisingly good. I mean, Daniels came back, but did Scary Terry play?
No. And to be honest with you, I didn't think they were that good of a team. And it pissed me off that we lost this team. I think they're overrated in my opinion. So it just shows you how screwed the Chargers are right now. Ja'Cory Croskett-Merritt ran wild for 111 yards with 14 carries at an astronomical clip, 7.9 yards a clip, 2 touchdowns. Hampton, who, in my opinion, is probably the best Chargers running back I've seen in at least a decade. He got clipped. He was going for a swing route. Defender comes right in, and some people were like, well, if he didn't get clipped, that guy would have got Justin. No, Justin would have got rid of the ball. But the guy, like, his foot or whatever went right on the back of his foot, and now he's got an ankle sprain and he's out for a month. So yeah, another red flag going off because, hey, look, we had Najee Harris, who never missed a game in 4 years in Pittsburgh, comes to LA in week 3, season-ending injury. Then we have Omarion Hampton, sorry.
Yep.
Never missed a game at UNC in his career, comes to LA week 5 on IR. Now, he was testing it on the sidelines, seeing it try to come back in. It was enough for them to put him on IR. I think that's probably a case. They might have faith in these backups. I sure as hell don't. So it looks like it's going to be the Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, and they brought back Naheem Hines, who looked like he had some juice in the preseason. He wasn't on the team. They cut him going in once week 1 started. I think he's probably going to come back more in a special teams role, along with they brought back another receiver, and it's slipping my name. I'll get back to it. Deebo Samuel put on a show. He was 8 for 96 and a touchdown. Commanders had 4 sacks. Our left tackle, who was supposed to be a backup to our swing offensive lineman, gave up 3 of those sacks. So that just shows how crap he is. Offensive line also gave 14 pressures. I mean, Justin Herbert, I'm getting 1,000% Andrew Luck vibes. And if people don't know what that means, Andrew Luck essentially retired early because he was getting battered behind his offensive line. And as from 2020, when Justin got into the league, he has been hit by far more than any quarterback by a long shot. I think it's like 520 hits. And the next guy to that number is Russell Wilson at 460. There's a huge margin right there. And, when Harbaugh and this new regime came in, they, the fist, the five, the offensive line, it's the tip of the spear. Well, the tip of the spear in LA is a broomstick with a dildo on it right now because it's absolutely destroying this team. And and then not to mention these, another thing that was amazing I saw in this game, we held them in, they had to punt out of the end zone. Ladd caught this ball. Why Ladd is, on special teams to begin with, is that just shows you the state of what's going on in LA. I never like seeing your starting wide receivers or starting cornerbacks returning punts or returning kicks, but that's where it's at right now in LA. He made the most amazing punt return for a touchdown. I mean, juking, spinning. If you guys have watched Ladd play, he's a pretty fun athlete. And then he hurdles the punter. Well, one of our rookie linebackers made a stupid mistake and roughed the punter. I guess you're allowed to hit one of their legs, but not the other leg. And he hit the leg you're not supposed to. I think their plant leg. And so that gave the Commanders life. And it was downhill from there. And like I said earlier, there's only so much you can ask from your quarterback. I mean, as a Chargers fan, I've seen Justin carry this team on his back multiple times, and it gets to the point where it's like, just, enough is enough. Like, wave the white flag. And there were even fans during the game that were like, put in Trey Lance, man. Like, it's not worth getting Justin killed out there. And it's pretty sketchy. Now, kind of some good news is Joe Alt was seen today, not in a boot, walking around and doing well, I guess. So they might think he's coming back sooner than later. I see that. I was like looking at the broomstick.
But it also just looking at the box score, like what I would say, the Chargers defense did well. They limited the Commanders. They were 2 of 7 on third down, so they didn't get a lot of opportunity. Was the big plays?
If you harken back to last week's show, the Commanders haven't been good on third downs. But this is 2 weeks, back-to-back weeks. The team's been outcoached and outplayed, and they are shooting themselves in the foot with stupid penalties. Now, there's discrepancy, though, with ref crews, so who knows, right? Because, like I said, that Quentin Johnson hit that happened when I felt like everything, switched off, there was no flag on that. When, 9 times out of 10, or, okay, let's be fair, 7.5 times out of 10, that would have been an immediate flag, 15-yard penalty, and that didn't happen. And that could have been the deciding factor. I mean, this game is a game of inches. I kind of joked with T3 earlier. I said this team should be 5-0. They very well should, but they're not. And they're not due to injuries and due to shooting themselves in the foot with penalties. They did it in New York. They did it against Commanders. And I think with 10 players on IR right now, 10, and a lot of them are key players.
Wow.
And 6 players are hurt. So we got guys coming in and out. Trey Pipkins, our right tackle, he's looked like crap these last 2 weeks. He wasn't supposed to start, but now we got fans that are like praying for him to start, and he's just been getting beat up. Mekhi Becton, the guy we got from Philly, I knew we were going to have anxiety with him, and he's been fighting demons, man. Yeah, I think he broke his hand. It looks like he's going to be wearing a cast this next game if he does play. It's the center we have, Bradley Bozeman. I mean, you were to ask any Chargers fan, like, who do you want to ship off to, Timbuktu or Antarctica right now, or who would you want to be put on a milk carton as a missing person? It's probably our center, Bradley Bozeman. And he's literally the worst center in the league. He cannot pick up a stunt to save his life, and he's letting guys come in, untouched.
Free. Yeah.
Free rushing on
Yeah.
Justin. Like, there's only so much you can do. He's not like Kyler Murray back there. This guy's 6'6". He's the tallest quarterback in the league. If he's not built like these tiny, like, juke. He can move, but it takes a little bit to get going, So it's getting scary. And we're like, we thought the Chargers were sleeping. They make a trade with the Ravens, but still not helping the offensive line. And low-key, Zion Johnson is actually not looking bad, our left guard. He's not a fan favorite either, but he's looked like he's been the steadiest guy right there. Front side protection, like he just needs more. He needs at least 2 seconds. He doesn't have 2 seconds. And once these defenses key up, it's like once they go into the second and the third quarter, they're pinning their ears back and they're like, "Ooh, baby, bring it on." And they'll start simulating things. They'll do the stunts, and it's like game over. And one thing that they were doing to counter that was the running game. Well, then your best running back goes out, and that kind of goes out the window, and then it's just a hope and a prayer. But they did trade, which surprised me. It wasn't a guy on my radar, and it was for Odafe Owe. And he's a 6'5", 265-pound edge, and it was something I was kind of talking to Richie about these last couple of weeks. Ever since Mac went out, which I think he's eligible to return week 7, the rush for our defense hasn't been great. The pressures haven't been great. And my whole thing is rush and cover go together, especially with this defense, this zone and this quarter style defense that Minter likes to run. And they're not putting enough pressure on quarterbacks. I saw Jaden Daniels sitting back there, tying his shoes, smiling, waving. He got sacked once in the game. I don't even know how many pressures we put on this kid. It wasn't enough. But so, they decided to get another guy because I don't know if I wrote it down, but okay. Yeah. Thule, the best guy, in our edge department right now, has 27 pressures through 5 games. Not great, but that's your best guy. The rest of our edges, 17 combined. So it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So they brought in this guy. He was a first-round pick, borderline first, second round. He was a 31st pick in 2021 by the Ravens. He's athletic. He can bend, especially for a guy that size. But he was like the first guy the Ravens, picked in the first round at D-line since Nagata. I don't know if you guys remember Howie Nagata or however you say his name.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was a good. Oh, that guy's good. Yeah.
So they had high expectations for him in Baltimore. And he essentially became a huge project for them. They spent years developing him. And let's just say some fans, he came off a 10-sack season last year. And this year, so far through 5 games, hasn't had a sack. And I blame that on the player. But then you also got to think that some of their best players are not available on that defense. I don't know if you guys pay attention to Baltimore. Baltimore's defense is horrendous right now.
They're horrible.
Matt Abuke is gone. Like a lot of these guys on that, especially on that D-line, haven't been there through majority of the season. So we traded Alohi Gilman. That's one position we have depth at is safety. And both of these guys are on their last year of their contracts. So we kind of had to pay up to get him. We had to send a 5th round 2026 pick, which we only had 6 picks going into next year's draft. So now it's 5. And we're getting back a conditional or a future 7th and Owe. And, we'll see. Is he going to be a bust? Will he help out? I sure hope he helps out because that will make that defense start clicking again. and and then be a great rotational piece when Matt comes back, because let's face it, Bud Dupree and our fourth guy, he hasn't been it. The guy he's done, and I think we have him for another year too. Double it and add 20. I don't know what that means. What's he referring to? Foggy Sphinx. But let's see. Herbert's been pressured at like an 18.1% clip, 13th most this season. He has been blitzed the most out of any quarterback this season, 63 times. He has been pressured 53 times, the second most, hit the second most, 24 hits, and sacked the third most, 16 sacks. So, yeah, it's pretty bad. And, they're going into Miami this week against, on paper, they have a good defensive line, but they haven't been playing like it. So, yeah, man, red flags going off. The fan base is losing their stuff, and I was pretty down and out. You're at a high, on a 3-game win, trap game, and then boom, you lose another one at home, and then you lose in the fashion with losing another starter going on IR. It's like every week you're losing a starter to go on IR. What was that word I'm thinking of? It's unsustainable.
Unsustainable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
You can't keep losing high-end key players every week, and it's going to catch up. It's going to bite you sooner or later. But
has there been one game where like at least no one's gotten hurt this year?
No.
So the first week we lost Denzel Perryman. He went on IR. That was a Chiefs game in Sao Paulo. And then they opened up. He was back to practice today for his first time. So he's got that 21-day window or whatever it is. And then, yeah, every week it's been somebody. Second week, I can't remember off the top of my head who was in the second week. I think the third week was Najee. I think it was Najee. But yeah, man, it's been pretty brutal, and private. Okay. Oh, so score prediction going into Miami. Let's see. I've got something written down. Oh, go back to O-line. Remember, we came into this season. Everybody's like talking about Chargers O-line. Chargers O-line is the worst in our division by far right now. We rank 25th. It's horrendous. So it was 19th going into the Giants game, and it's gone down even more since then. But going into Miami,
in fairness, though, let's just at least be fair. You've lost like 3 starters.
Yeah.
You've
and
lost
not just
4
3
starters,
but 3 good starters.
Yeah, and like I think it's important to at least be reasonable and balanced when we're looking at offensive line stats, caliber, all that, and rankings and things. Like, you lost your left tackle, you lost your right tackle, you lost a guard, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Like
Beckham.
Yeah, Becton has been in and out. It's either a concussion, a flu game. And now it's a broken hand. He was in a non-contact today. Yeah, it's but at the same time, they're still running it back with the same center, and we now have 4 centers on this team in some shape or form, and they're still running it back with this guy who's what looks like on a game-to-game basis is trying to get his quarterback killed. And for some reason, the quarterback's going to bat for him and the coach is going to bat for him. But everybody in America and everybody who follows football are seeing the same effing thing. And they're like, what's going, I'm like, check this dude's bank account. like something, because this is not adding up. You don't have a veteran center in the league playing like this.
So Raider Shield family in with a $5 super. Thank you very much, Raider Shield family. My perspective with Raiders, business as usual. Create hype and never live up to it. However, this Titans game will get loud to coaches in a loss.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that's true, because I think the Titans have had some struggles and whatnot. So I think that this is going to be a winnable game for the Raiders. And if the Raiders do in fact lose, or even lose badly, or some variation of it, I do agree. There's going to be, at least a head will roll, in my opinion, as a result of a loss against the Titans. So Raider Shield, again, thank you for the $5 super. And
Thanks, Nav.
DZ, let's hear your score for the Miami Chargers game.
Okay, so it's just like a few lines. On to
Yeah.
Miami, it's an early game. Chargers travel out east, so it's going to be a 10 a.m. game for them. Last time they did this in New York, didn't end so well. It's going to be 90 degrees and humid. Gross. It's going to be the battle of the trash O-lines, because Miami's offensive line is dog water as well. A-Chain's probably going to have a day. Let's just face it. And we'll see with Owe. Owe, the guy they just acquired, is supposed to play, so we'll see if that helps out on the edge. Jack, you guys remember Waller's looked froggy and good these last 2 weeks with them. Waddle's still a threat, and they've got some good defenders, Brooks and Dotson. God, am I a psycho? Like I said, I wasn't going to predict the Chargers to win, but it's like you lose to this team, you lose this team, it might be over. You go to 500 after that. But I think this defense, they have to have seen what they've been doing these last 2 weeks. I don't know. I'll just say this: if the Chargers get behind, they're going to lose, because they have not shown that they can come from behind, big deficits this season, especially with the O-line. He can't sit back there and look for guys. Yeah, right. I agree. I'll say 24-18, Bolts take it, but I'm not confident. I'm not at all.
My score for your game is 27-24 Chargers.
Yeah, I'm not confident, man.
Well, at least you got that defensive end, that's going to help you out against a dog water Dolphins team. So
yep. Yeah, I think this is going to be largely an offensive game, because I think the defense is going to I just think you're going to kind of ladder each other up, and I think it's going to be kind of something in that range. So I see this being a much closer game, simply because it's going to be an ebb and flow sort of game, where the offensive line on each team is going to struggle. You're going to let pressures, sacks, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it'll just be like one of those types of games where you're going to have different teams doing different things at different times. That was my reasoning for it. So I have 27-24 Chargers. I do think that you are going to beat the Dolphins in this game. I think you've got better coaching, and I think that ultimately is what's going to make the difference, because I think McDaniels is on his way out pretty quick. So, Jack, your score.
What was your score again, so I can write it down?
Nav, Hampton's on IR, buddy.
Yeah, that was shocking. I did not know that. DZ, what did you have the score at?
I think I said 24-17 or
24-17. Yeah, 24-17.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, that's what I got too. So I got 24-17. I did not know that Hampton was out, and I predicted that score. That's going to be a huge blow for sure, because Hampton is he's a special player, and I could see him being great for many, many years on your team. But when you said, the Dolphins were dog water, you just, with that trade with the Ravens, okay, now you got a defensive end to go in there that's going to offset some stuff. I got the same score. And, I think it's going to be difficult, again, flying across the country, starting a really early game across the country. Us West Coast guys, we're still kind of tired, and waking up at that point. want our coffee. Those guys are normally, they're 3 hours ahead.
Yep.
So,
and I said that when
Yeah.
they went to New York, I thought they looked flat, and that was the same time 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So they
Dang,
can't afford to do that, man.
No.
look at Nav, dude, 31-17. Dude, these
Yep.
Ask him how many silver bullets has he had tonight?
So it looks like we have a collective 3-member win for the Chargers here to varying degrees. I think I had the closest score out of all of you, but nonetheless, we have it getting into like the mid-high 20s as a score, generally speaking, for the winning team. So I will go right into my Broncos game, and I'm just gonna kind of call some general things here. So this is in London. So this will be an early game for everybody here. However, my Broncos are already in London. They will be practicing early and going through the walkthroughs and all that kind of stuff. Sean Payton has a very good record when he plays in London. Generally speaking, he's well adapted to that sort of thing. The Broncos are also coming off of a win, which is going to be incredibly helpful against a very good Eagles team. Like they are good. They're not trash. They are a very good team.
Sure.
And we are playing the Jets in London this coming week. So I'm just going to call it for what it is. I think the Jets are struggling right now, to say the least. I think the Broncos are certainly on an upward trajectory, which is what I did project at the beginning of the season as well. I have this as a 34-12 game.
dang.
Close to me.
34-12 game. I think the Jets are going to have nothing but field goals in this game for my Denver Broncos. And that's my score prediction for the Denver Broncos.
Ken, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. It's like, they got a 71% chance, saying the Broncos are going to win this game. It's a 43.5. The Broncos are -7 on this one. I'm going to give it a double-digit win for Rich. I mean, look at it. The AFC West, at least our 3 teams, are playing against some of the worst teams that are in the NFL, regardless of what division or conference. It's just like the Dolphins, the Jets, the Titans. They're all garbage, and these guys are all going to be fighting for that top pick, including my team. Right now, the way they're playing, but looking at this, I think it's going to be again with Richie's defense, which I've been spouting about before even the season started. As soon as you guys got Barron in a draft, I was like, oh my God. So I got it as a double-digit win. I got it 27-17. I don't know what the Jets are going to do, but I just maybe because it's a neutral field and they're both having to travel. I mean, I don't know. So
27-7. So you said 27-17?
Yeah.
All right. DZ, what do you have for the Broncos Jets?
So the Jets don't help themselves at all.
No.
At all. They are another team that are kind of like a hot mess right now, and they hurt themselves. They shoot themselves in the foot constantly. I have the Broncos comfortably winning this 27-10 in London, which should be outlawed. No more, please.
Yep. So we
London,
have the Broncos,
Ireland, Brazil.
Yes, we have the Broncos basically as a three unanimous. Varying degrees of score here. It will be very interesting to see where we land. Jack, over to you and your Raiders. Let's give just score and see where we're at.
Okay, so the Tennessee Titans are the garbage of the garbage. Over the Jets, the Dolphins. They're what? They're ranked worse in the NFL. Grade 32. Overall offense, grade 31st. I mean, there's nothing that this team does well. They got a young quarterback. They put nothing around them. Raiders are a 5-point favorite, which they were a favorite against the Bears, and they still lost that game. The percentage is the Raiders to win by 64%. And I do think finally they're going to actually get one for once. If they don't win this game, I probably will never pick the Raiders to win another game during the season. I got them 23-19.
It's close to me. I've got the Raiders winning this. I got them winning it 24-14. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that you guys, I like your guys' defense more than I like theirs. You still got Genty. Gino, well, you can say what you want. I know Bowers looks like he's going to be out again, trending that way. You guys, I think you might is Mayer still in concussion protocol, or he might be come back?
No, Michael Mayers is going to be playing this week.
Okay. So you get him
Bowers on the other hand, they say he's kind of day to day, but he didn't play last week. And I do wonder why, the coaching staff let him play after the initial injury and keep him going, and then keep him out this game. I think they made a mistake with that. I was going to talk about it earlier, but I never got to it. But Michael Mayers is back, so that's a good thing. And I think our starting defensive back is also coming back this week too.
Cool. Yeah. I've got you guys. I got you guys taking this. Richie said he'll be right back or something.
Yeah, I agree with you. It should be, but we haven't done anything right this year, so that's why I knocked it down a bit.
And then we got. I guess we'll just wait for Richie to come back. But we got the Chiefs and Lions. I know we keep forgetting about them, but this is. Oh, Richie's back.
24-10 Raiders.
24-10. Okay, so yeah. And then I guess we can all just do quick score for the Chiefs and call it a night.
Ooh, I didn't even look at it.
Well,
where's it
31-14 Lions.
Oh, I got it closer than that. I got it like 31, probably 28, and I got the Lions going too.
I think the Lions are too well-rounded of a team, and the Chiefs have shown too much struggle this year.
Lions have 4 cornerbacks out, though.
This is true, but I just think that, offensively, the Lions have been doing really well. They've shown out really well. They have a very gritty head coach. There's a whole host of reasons for it, but ultimately, I think that the Chiefs are going to get smoked by the Lions, and that's kind of where I'm predicting it. I could very well be wrong. It is what it is, but I still think it's like 34, 34-17, 34-12, 34. 31.
Wow, you think it's going to be a blowout?
Range. Yeah, I think the Lions are going to kill the Chiefs. I just think that there's too much. I think there's just too much. I think the Chiefs have shown too much struggle this year, and the Lions are showing to be a very, very strong team again. And it's like you're just in, there's some games you're going to do really well. There's some games you're going to do really well. There's some games you're going to do poorly. I just think the Lions are showing too much grit this year, despite their injuries and other things. That's just my opinion.
All right, so I didn't look at any of this. So, I did not look at the team because we don't have a host for the show. We haven't done the score predictions, for them.
Yep.
It's in Detroit, right?
Yeah. No, it's in
KC.
Oh, it's in KC. Okay, so I still think Detroit's going to win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout because it's in KC. KC is a super loud stadium. I respect the fans they have out there. They usually do a pretty good job. And, I will say the KC defense, from what I've seen this year, has not been the best. I don't know who the Lions put up, 40 some odd points. Maybe it was the Bears.
Sunday Night Football.
20. I'm going to call it 28-23, and I'm going to go Detroit. I didn't look up any stats or anything like that, so I'm just kind of curious now next week how it looks.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining the show this evening. It's going to be an interesting weekend ahead. Obviously, with my Broncos playing quite early on Sunday there in London. Very interesting to see how our score predictions and the fact that we were relatively unanimous almost in all games in terms of who was going to win, to see if there's any surprises or upsets. So fingers crossed that we're all generally correct, and we will go from there. Anywho, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, where the West Side is the best side, we will see you next week. Peace!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. simple. Been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute,